Welcome to this digital diary of Gartcosh and the changes which have occurred and are still occurring in our community today. Johnson Loch was formed as the Ice Age ended and glaciers receded 11,500 years ago. Johnson Loch was formed at the end of the last Ice Age, when glaciers that covered most of Scotland retreated and cut into the earth to create great tracts in the landscape. Scotland's landscape heritage was born, creating the great lochs like Loch Lomond. Johnson Loch forms part of that heritage. Present since the last rapid climate warming 11,500 years ago, Johnson Loch supports a fragile ecosystem of wetlands and sink that has taken thousands of years to develop. Above is Provenhall Mansion, which is said to be the most perfect pre-Reformation mansion in Scotland. This stated by the National Trust for Scotland. It is located in Auchinleigh Park, Easterhouse. Mary Queen of Scots visited Provenhall and spent time on the estate while visiting friend William Baillie, the Lord Proven. We now fast forward to the 19th century. This map of Gartcosh gives the layout and indicates where some of the street names came from. The Gartcosh population started to grow at the turn of the 19th century and went from an agricultural village to a village associated with Scotland's industrial past. 1863, Gartcosh Fireclay Works was established. They produced a variety of products and ceased operations in the 1950s when supplies of the fireclay were exhausted. Maybe you can get your bearings or see where you live now from this image. Pictured here, Smith and Maclean Ironworks, which started in 1865 by William Gray. The works were originally called Woodnewk Ironworks, as it was probably built on the Woodnewk estate. In 1866, the works had 10 puddling furnaces, 2 heating furnaces and a rolling mill. The firm got into difficulties and was up for sale at £4,500 in November 1866. There were no takers. 1867, reoffered for sale and bought by E&W Smith from Glasgow for £4,250, the Smith brothers intended to exploit a new process for making steel from pig iron that had been invented by Robert Miller. The Smith brothers formed the Gartcosh Iron and Steel Company, but went into sequestration and was again taken over in 1872. It's worth noting where the population lived at this point. Access to the village would probably have been best made through Whitehill Terrace. Today, it is the pedestrian access to the Gartcosh to Glasgow Railway. The slope at the side of the house still forms the steep access to the platform today. If you passed under the bridge, it brought you to the south end of Loch End Road, where you find the housing fondly called the Buildings. The housing was built for workers of the iron and steel works of Smith and Maclean. The post office was first located at the bottom of Loch End Road at Maclean Place. There was even a 1900s version of the supermarket cooperative situated at Old Gartloch Road. The co has given way to the small parade of shops operating today. Community amenities were centred in Woodnewk Park. The village had a cricket ground, tennis court and even a bowling lawn. Having an iron and steel industry increased the population, and through the early 20th century, the layout of the village started to change. The nationalisation of the steel industry by the Labour government reinforced modernisation efforts and provided funding. Infrastructure, in the form of the A752, was built in the 1960s to improve road links to Gartcosh Steelworks. Part of the road sliced through the farmland to run parallel to Loch End Road. The buildings were demolished in the 1970s and residents moved to the housing estate which sits between the Works Road and Johnston Road. At the end of the 20th and into the 21st century, Gartcosh saw the expansion of housing. Redrow, built on the container base and old clay works site, Wilson, on a greenfield site behind Johnston Road, Thomas Mitchell is now where the building stood, and Cadder Court sits on the farmhouse and milking shed. Unfortunately, the development took place without any thought of additional amenities, as seen on this map highlighting new development. As Gartcosh heads to the future, as it stands, there is no park, the sports facilities are gone, the post office is gone, and only one community facility is available. In 2010, we saw a change in the catchment area that excluded families in Mount Ellen from the school. This left some children in the same household in two schools, with placement requests being denied. The primary school is left with temporary classrooms and has had capacity issues for more than a decade. The community hall, that was built in 1903 and continues to support the community activities, has a capacity of 70 with limited facilities. The definition of a small town population is 3,000 to 9,999. Gartcosh now, and at the end of the development, has a population but not the amenities or infrastructure required to support a small town. In 2012, Gartcosh and Glenboig became a community growth area and was to take a portion of the 3,000 houses allocated to the CGA. It was confirmed part of the Seven Lochs project in the local development plan, and it has been promised new and appropriate infrastructure and amenities within the local development plan. Since 2012, the Community Growth Area housing units have increased from 5,282 from 3,000 houses originally allotted. This makes 32% of the private housing development of the whole of North Lanarkshire. Gartcosh's portion is 14.12% of the total housing development. The Seven Lochs project finishes in 2020 and there has been no project development in Gartcosh. First maps showed Gartcosh as a gateway site to this 16-kilometre park, but is slowly being written out of the narrative. 8 years has passed and there has been no infrastructure and amenities, with only crippling road and rail failures. The new local development map shows the extent of proposed development, which has little or no land for community development or quality land that developers will leave. The master plan has not been adhered to, and the placement and triggers are far too late in the planning process. This is the latest suggested development round the loch. This community growth area has and will continue to fail not only long-standing residents of the community, but new residents and their expectations of the location they have chosen. Gartcosh has shown through its agricultural and industrial past it can change and not be against development. People need homes and communities must evolve. We expect, through good planning, that long-term residents should have what was promised, and that new residents should get an infrastructure and amenities promised at the point of sale. Gartcosh now has a fight in its hands to be sustainable as a community. We are making some small gains. If you want to keep up to date with what's happening or give support, join or attend community events, complete the membership form on the website. Also, like and follow our social media page on Facebook. Thank you for coming along today, and thank you for watching.